Where there's this dormitory where students have lived and are supposed to be living in, and because what they didn't do well in the exam because they felt that the teachers didn't help them, they decided to ban the dormitory. That's what we're picking up. And so we have so many videos, we have so many pictures we'll be showing to you on Facebook, and we've begun showing you videos of how the dormitory was burning from the roof to the inside of the dormitory. This big facility. Go onto Facebook, LUV 99.5, and check it out for yourself. Now, a similar thing happened. They didn't ban the dormitory, or they didn't ban the dining hall, but they students of Chinebua Kodia Senior High School, when also they didn't do well in the integrated science exam, also decided to destroy dining hall stuff. We'll be showing you those videos again shortly because it happened last year. But go onto Facebook and see things for yourself, and you tell us what you make of what you're about to see. Now, we've been joined on the phone lines right now by DO3 Desmond Aka, who speaks for the fire service here in the region. Desmond, good morning to you. Hello, Desmond. Well, I'm told that we've lost Desmond on the line. We're raising him on the line to join us and give us more information about what transpired when they got there to the school, that is Nyine Catholic Senior High School, Friday evening. But this is Love 99.5, and listen, we're encouraging you to go onto Facebook. These are students who are enjoying free education. These are students who are eating free. And this is being done by the taxpayers' money as well. And this is how they pay us. Go check it out on Facebook. Now, Desmond, I'm told, is on the line, and he's DO3 Desmond Aka. And like I said, he speaks for the fire service here in the Ashanti region. Desmond, good morning to you.
Good morning, David.
Trust you're well.
Having me.
Hope you're well.
By God's grace, we're doing well.
Okay, we thank God for grace. So, Desmond, what can you share with us on the fire that ravaged the boys' dormitory in Hinka Lake Senior High School last Friday? What have you gathered so far?
I'm going to take the opportunity to say a very good morning to your cherished listeners. There was quite an unfortunate incident that happened last Friday at Hinka Lake Senior High School. And the boys' dormitory was ravaged by the fire. Initially, I think earlier on, the security agencies at the union had put some intelligence that some final year students were planning to. So they have closed their plans in that particular school. The intel was they were planning to ban some sensitive structures within the school, especially their admin block, their library, and their senior hall. So much consideration was given to such areas. Then it happened last Friday night, around 7 p.m. They had their call that it is rather the boys' dormitory block A, which has been set on fire. Quickly, they had to mobilize the fire personnel there to go to manage the incident. When we went, we realized that the fire was almost 46 rooms on that particular block.
Almost what?
All the 6 rooms.
All 6 rooms,
on
okay.
That block.
Okay.
Yes. It was a boys' dormitory. So they were surprised, and the rate at which the fire was burning was also rapid. So their suspicion was that probably some form of accelerant would have been used to aid in the fire spread. So their concentration was to cut off the fire from spreading to nearby buildings, and for which they succeeded in doing. But the nature of the fire spread was so rapid that they had to mobilize national tender from Korea. This also came into with firefighters. And during firefighting, some unknown people from the community came in to prevent our firefighters from extinguishing the fire. I don't know the motive. The police is yet to conclude their investigation. and then let us know. Today, I learned they are taking one arrested person to court this morning, and probably after the investigation is done, we will know the motive for assaulting our firefighter.
Okay, so when you say somebody from the community wanted to prevent the fire officers from doing their job, what exactly do you mean? What was this individual doing?
Yes, this firefighting crew, they were busily fighting fire. But earlier on, we had also gotten that during the initial stages of the fire, the continuing students were trying to control the fire spread. Some final year students also prevented them from doing the same. So we are suspecting that this person coming in to assault our firefighter to prevent them to manage the fire could also be a sort of what has happened previously with the final year students preventing the earlier continuing students from managing the fire from first spread. So we are still investigating that matter. And the good news is that no student got injured or died through the fire. Just that our man was taken to hospital and is recovering from his injuries.
Do you know the extent of injury this fire officer, sustained?
Oh, there's a few bruises.
Okay. But Desmond, listening to you, correct me if I'm wrong. Did I hear you say that security picked intel, that students were planning to burn some buildings in the school?
Yes.
So if security picked up intelligence or intel, how come students were able to carry on with their plans? With intelligence, you should be able to prevent some of these things. Don't you agree?
And David, if you look at the nature of the intel that they picked and the management of that kind of intel, the concentration was on sensitive structures on the campus. It was not an entire school compound, which the intel suggested that the students were going to burn down. So therefore, the attention was on those sensitive structures. That is what took them by surprise. The students rather took them by surprise and then burned the other dormitory. So, but even that, the swiftness in which they responded in containing this fire, helped. Other than that, a lot of property, a lot of structures. If you look at that particular enclave where the dormitory block A is situated, you have about 4 structures that is in proximity to that particular structure. So if they have not responded swiftly, about 4 other structures with its contents would have been raised down.
But I still have concerns. I still have concerns that intelligence was picked up, and yet the students were able to carry out with burning of this dormitory. I'm still surprised.
Maybe you shouldn't be surprised. Even with the normal intelligence that we pick, that normally, let's say we may have some armed robbery attack and other security concerns. The criminals are always one step ahead of the security agencies. So you shouldn't be surprised about this. The most important thing is that we didn't have any casualty in terms of life, and we were able to move swiftly to contain the situation.
Well, I hear you. But again, if it has to do with, let's say, a robbery, for example, you might not know exactly where the robbery might take place. But for this, we know exactly where to target. We know exactly which school this event was being planned.
Was going to happen on the headmaster's block. Some teachers that the students felt had not dealt well with them during the examination period. And then the school main administration and the library and some other sensitive structures. So the concentration was on those structures.
I hear you, but I think that we could again have concentrated on every structure on the premises. But can you confirm to us, based on investigation, that this was done by students of the school?
And for now, we cannot say it was done by final year students, as being speculated by some eyewitnesses and some neighborhood or even some school students or students in that school. We want to actually go down deep and then make some arrests. So the person that we have arrested is leading us to other people We want to be able to find out the motive behind what they did that night, and if that could lead to the people who might have done that, then we can confidently conclude that it's an accident incident.
So now tell us about the extent of damage. You've been there, you've seen it. We're just seeing pictures. We're showing videos actually on Facebook right now, but you and your men have been on the ground. What can you share with us by way of extent of damage? And before you answer that question, this is this is Love 99.5. This is Love in the Morning. And we're showing you on Facebook right now on LUV 99.5. 99.5, a fire outbreak that some students of Yunehin Catholic Senior High School are alleged to have started themselves. They started this fire simply because they are saying that during their final exams, during the WASI exams, some teachers did not assist them or help them to copy or to use APO. And so therefore they decided to bend down the school dormitory. And one of the videos, and Joel, if you don't mind, let's show that video, where in that video you can see clearly fire blazing. And these are young ones who are attending school for free, eating for free. And this is how they want to exit the school, upon completion of their exams. Now, so DO3 Aka, tell us about the extent of damage.
Right, David, if you look at the affected block, you realize that the entire roof space had been destroyed by the fire. In rooms where the fire concentration was very much high, you would realize that even the roof and the ceiling, they've all caved in with conspicuous spalling on the walls and cracks even in the walls. And then some material like student mattresses, beds, trunks, chobosses, and some books, plus electrical fittings in those rooms have been destroyed by this fire. So as the building stands now, if they want to reuse it for as a dormitory, they have to pull down and then probably reconstruct, because the structural integrity and stability had been affected by this fire.
And DO3 Desmond Aka, please hold the line for me. We've also been joined by Raphael Sarkodie. He mans the Ashanti Regional SRC. He joins us also on the phone lines. Ralph, good morning to you.
Good morning, David.
Trust you're well.
I'm doing well.
Well, I'm sure you've been following this whole incident that took place on Friday at Yunehin Catholic Senior High School. How is the SRC taking the behavior of students of this school? And if you don't mind, don't just look at this school. We recall somewhere last year where students also of Shunibu Akudia Senior High School destroyed school property as a result of a difficult exam they had to write. I think it was an integrated science exam or so. How is the SRC taking this whole thing, this student behavior?
Well, thank you very much, and thank you. Good morning to your listeners. I think that the SRC is equally concerned, like all other stakeholders, about these latest development that we are having, especially when final year students are about to complete school. It tells us that we have a lot of work to do. It tells us that we have to modify our strategy. It tells us that we have to perhaps look at our orientation, ways of doing things again. It tells us that we need to do a lot more engagement. It tells us that the society must also be involved. It tells us that all stakeholders must come on board to be able to nip this attitude in the bud and ensure that students will not engage in these things. For us, it's a clarion call to us, and so we are having a roundtable discussion with all stakeholders to look at what is going on and how best we can deal with it to ensure that these things doesn't happen again. So that would be my introductory remark.
Tell me, what do you think? What is happening to our students? What's making them behave like this?
Well, you can look at it from a wider point of view, and then you narrow it down. Whoever we are is a reflection of society. Whoever we are as individuals is a reflection of the society. And I believe that these students are a product of what society has made us, and perhaps the changing trends in terms of the dynamics of the society. Again, we would want to say that, when people are held responsible and accountable and made to face the full rigors of the law, it becomes deterrent to others. And that's why we are happy that investigations are ongoing to unravel which people, as it were behind it. And when we are able to find out, we don't need to shield them. The SRC will not shield any student. We are for full disciplinary measures against any individual who is found culpable. When people face the punishment of their irresponsible act, it will make them fitter, and others will also learn from that. Having said that, parents have a role to play. Media have a role to play. Recall that when the headmaster of the Achipram gave 4 lashes to a student and there were some bruises, you look at how the media, the social media, and the whole nation, as it were, the brouhaha about it and all that. A teacher would say that if this is what has happened, then I am not interested in punishing a student again. So I'm saying that it's not necessarily a problem limited to one individual, but the way society as it were are seeing things now, it is kind of making things complicated, and people who are supposed to take care of our kids are also becoming increasingly a bit reserved, and the impunity will continue if we don't stand to deal with it. And it's not about teachers, it's about the society as a whole and how we would package ourselves to deal with these things when they come out.
So this is not the first time it's happening, and you talked about sanctions or punishment. In the ones that have happened earlier, how well have we handled these sanctions and punishment to serve as a deterrent to others?
Well, it's all about finding the culprit and getting to know who is responsible. See, when students decide to shield colleagues, when we decide to cover those who do these things, you can set up investigative committee, and still it becomes very difficult to be able to identify who is. If you read the police report, you will realize that still the investigations are ongoing, and we still do not know who, as it were, is responsible. I believe that when students are able to say, and that is what the SRC will have always advocated for, that let's not shield anybody. When somebody does something, students should be able to pinpoint the individual and say, this one did it, so that person will face the full consequences of the law. And that's what we seek to do, ensuring that students are conscious of themselves, knowing very well that we have a responsibility of leadership. And leadership means that if you do the wrong thing, I will not cover you, I will not shield you, I will let authorities know you, and they will deal with you. And that is what we have to begin to find, to apply, to ensure that when I know that if I do the wrong thing, I will be pointed out, I will be fished out, I will be careful in venturing into any of these things. When parents also know that when their wards do these things, they will not cover them, they will not shield them, it would help. When society also decides that anybody who engages in some of these things, we will not back you, we would get you out, it would go a long way to create that culture of you will be responsible for your actions and inactions. And for me, that is the way to go.
So hold on for me, Raphael. Let me come back to you, DO3 Desmond Aka, who speaks for the fire service here in the region. How difficult is it to identify some of the perpetrators who are engaged in some of these acts?
David, sometimes it's difficult when people tend to hold on to information that could lead to the arrest and prosecution of perpetrators of such crimes. So we want to appeal to anyone with useful information to go to the police to assist as to unravel the cause and motive.
So if because it's difficult, what we let it slide after a few attempts, we need to be able to identify people and punish them. Don't you think so? We need to find whatever means possible to identify them.
Yes, when it comes to criminal investigations, you always need leads. When it comes to fire investigation, you don't necessarily need leads. You could use some technical means to say that an accelerant was used. Of course, with this particular fire, we have no doubt in our minds that no accelerant was used. Definitely some kind of accelerant were used in creating this fire. So that is not a problem. But in trying to find out the real perpetrators, you need people to tell you that this person went for a meeting or they met this way, this was what they were discussing. And indeed, I am sure by close of this week, we should get some people who probably might have caused this and then brought them to book. What we are going to do this time differently is to ensure that the perpetrators who are caught and are prosecuted are also, published in their dailies for everybody to see, so that it serves as a deterrent. Going forward to, I believe also that school authorities should also live with security agencies, especially when final year students are about completing and when they are also picking signals or intelligence that this is what they are planning to do, so that security can be beefed up. Yes, sometimes it's very difficult to ensure that these things do not happen. But once they liaise with police and appropriate security agencies, even if it's working, the impact will be minimized.
But like in this case, the security picked intelligence. They picked intel, all right. And yet we have a whole block of a dormitory.
That is why the effect for us is even minimal. Had it not been the intelligence, probably they could have set the whole place ablaze. Who knows?
Well, I don't know. Looking at the way the situation is right now, I don't know what's going to happen going into the future, because they are becoming boldened and braver by the year. Last year we were talking about a similar thing. Some of them were even were told we're going to be prevented from writing exams. The president came in and said, "Listen, at least for the exams, let them write it." I know that when it happens like this, we'll come up and say, "Let's bill the students and their parents will have to pay." I don't know whether that's the right approach. And if we sit down like this, what beholds us next year? Now, Raphael, you were talking about orientation. What about orientation?
Well, you see, one thing that you need to see is that when students are doing all these, normally at times students will do these things, you will take them to disciplinary committee, and you realize that they were influenced by their peers, they were influenced by the euphoria of the occasion, they were influenced by the moment, and they did it, and now when they are left alone, they regret their actions. You'll be surprised to find out after police unravel, find out who did that, and how regretful the person will be. But it will be too late. And that is why going into the thinking of the students, speaking to their conscience, and letting them know you met the institution, and you must pass through the institution, leave it for other generations to also benefit from it. If you go to the school and you want to burn down the school because you are completing, what you have done is that you have denied posterity and future generations access to education, because we have limited resources in the country, and so you cannot do any of these things like this, and go scot-free. And that's why we are bent on meeting students. And before the last paper, I went to some schools together with the district commanders to engage the final year students and speak to them, especially where we take one or two intelligence. And for those schools, we were able to, the situation as it didn't lead to anything. But we believe that would be the way to go. Sitting students down, speaking to their conscience, and letting them know, look at your background, where you are coming from, and look at where you are going to. And then you know that if you do any stupid thing, and it truncates your education and your future, you are in trouble. So it's important that we intensify our orientation and speak to the conscience of these students and let them know that you have access to free education. That is great. Pass through it, build your capacity, get some profession to do, and build your life for the future, instead of going into anything that will once again destroy your future. And that we are committed to doing, and we are going to have stakeholders engagement to be able to build on the capacity of students and make them conscious of themselves.
What about other schools? I don't know what the situation is like. Aside from this in Calix Senior High School, do you have any other incidents in other schools? I was mentioning a while ago that I know of a certain school where students who also felt that there was this teacher who is wicked and did not allow them to copy. They uprooted his cassava farm, his cut down plantain trees, and even slashed his car tires and all that. Aside from the Unahin and the one that I have just mentioned, do we know of any other incidents in any other senior high school?
Well, because I work with students, obviously if there is any intelligence, I would know. As to whether it is for public consumption is another thing altogether. But like I told you, I went to some schools to be able to engage final year students, and we were able to bring the situation under control. Having said that, The police issued the intelligence report to the district commanders, and then GES also issued a statement calling on school authorities to be very vigilant and ensuring that final year students will leave the schools immediately after their last paper. So together, the collaboration between the police and the collaboration and the Ghana Education Service managed to forestall or to prevent any unfortunate occurrence. And I think that it tells us that we must be very, very current, we must be vigilant, we must respond quickly and promptly to issues and to ensure that these things doesn't happen. So yes, if you ask me, there were isolated issues and all that, but if you will permit me, we will always want to deal with it behind the scenes and not create any.
Well, I would indulge you, but I don't think that it's cool. I mean, if some students in some schools are, had plans, had intentions, and you know about it, share with us so we would all talk about it. But having said that, how do you feel knowing that with this very school we're discussing, Catholic Senior High, intelligence was picked all right, there was security on the premises, I'm told, and yet a whole dormitory has been bent down. How do you feel about it, although we picked intelligence?
Well, I have not had a briefing from the United Police as to why, because it looks to me that there were some moments where the police were not available or present, and that is what perhaps led to that. Having said that, intelligence is fluid, and therefore, when we are expecting, because the places that I went with the police, you realize that they have to patrol the school and ensure that students exit the school right after their papers for safety, as it were, to prevail. So I do not know the peculiar situation over there, but I believe that if intelligence was picked that this was going to happen, and it really happened, then perhaps it tells us that a lot more ought to be done.
What assurances can you give, as the man who mans the SRC here in the Shanti region, what assurances can you give us that next year we'll not be telling a similar story or even a worse story?
David, I'm going to give this assurance that everything that the SRC ought to do on behalf of the regional directorate, we are committed to doing, and we will do our part. Whilst we are doing the orientation, we tell students that the SRC is a welfare body that speaks on behalf of students and fights for their interests and welfare. But if you are a student and you misbehave, in fact, it will be the SRC that will lead the fight in ensuring that you are brought to book, because we believe that it should be as we seek for our welfare, it should go with responsibility. As we talk about the welfare and the interest of students, it equally must go with a certain level of maturity and responsibility. And we are going around to all the 135 senior high schools in Ashanti region to speak to them, to let them know that indeed we have come a time where these things cannot be countenanced again, where the limited properties that we have on our campus cannot be compromised because students are angry. Because when you are angry, you have a channel. The SRC motto says emancipation of students through dialogue and a philosophy of non-violence. So for us, non-violence is the way to go, and we are not going to countenance any use of violence to achieve the grievances of students. And that is why we are going round. In 2 weeks' time, we are meeting student leaders all over Ashanti region, and we are telling them the truth, and we will not mince words at all. Any student that misbehaves, we will not show that individual, because we believe that indeed, as we seek for our interest and welfare, we must also demonstrate maturity and responsibility.
And, my checks on the ground shows that a lot of the students have not even shown any kind of remorse, and it's quite disappointing. So, Ralph, what's going to happen? As usual, parents are going to bear the cost?
Well, it's about how the investigation will pan out. Usually when these things happen, the investigative body will be set up. They will go into the matter. When they go and they realize who is culpable, the GES code stipulates that if a student destroys anything, that student will be made to pay. So if you are found to have, but then the criminal matter will be handled by the police. So for us, the directorate will set up, go into the matter. When they unravel it and it is found that students were culpable, it doesn't matter whether you have completed school you will, because this is government property,
Yeah.
and you cannot bear it down and go scot-free thinking that you are a student or you are about to complete school. So the criminal matter will run, the code of ethics of DES will also run, and then side by side, I'm sure that we can send a strong message to others who may be thinking about doing such things in the near future.
DO3 Desmond Aka, what would you love to see happen going forward, especially in not just in Hinehin Catholic school, but in all senior high schools? What would you love to see happen going forward?
Right, David, this is an isolated case. And trust the security agencies in the district to unravel this particular case and bring perpetrators to book. And going forward, we want to see school authorities more with their students. So
I lost you on that one. You would like to see school authorities do what?
Yes, school authorities engage their students more and more on issues that become sources of conflict between leadership or authorities, school authorities, and then school leadership and even students' body as a whole. And one thing that is missing that we enjoyed during our days in school was the counseling section. I believe when this is also brought back, I mean, during general assembly halls, I mean, the counselors could take advantage and even send out some useful information to the students so as to be able to talk to their consciences and then calm their nerves down so that if anybody has any peculiar problem, he could seek for help. And some of these, negative tendencies that could lead to influencing others into causing havoc to government properties, state institutions, and all that could also be a thing of the past. But going forward, I am also entreating all security agencies within the district to collaborate with school authorities, especially when final year students are about completing, so that especially where intels are picked, security will be beefed up in areas to avert such an incident from occurring in the future.
I hear you. And DO3 Desmond Aka, who speaks for the Ashanti Regional Police Fire, Regional Fire Service, we say thank you very much, sir, for your time. And also to you, Raphael Sako, who mans the Ashanti Regional SRC. Grateful to you, sir, also for your time. Now we'll be activating the phone lines. So we'll be activating the phone lines now on 03220-83596. I don't know if you've seen the scenes of fire engulfing this dormitory, burning it totally. If you haven't seen it, listen, stay with us on Facebook and see it for yourself. This is the fire we're talking about. This is what we're talking about, where it's alleged that students, final year students of Hinehin Catholic Senior High did to a dormitory, a room maybe some of them have even slept in before. This is what they decided to do after writing their final paper, and they're blaming some teachers of the school that they did not help them with that, did not help them to cheat in the exam. So this is what they decided to do. Very, very sad indeed. Very unfortunate. Listen, join us on Facebook and see things for yourself. Now, a doctor friend of mine sends a message and says, David, they will next burn. Okay, it says, David, they will next be burning down the country. They now feel everything should be free, including free examination. They're being fed for free. They are attending school for free, so they think examination should also be for free. 03220-83596. Join us. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, David Akwete. Your brother, your friend, Christoph's Adult Education Institute, Center for English Language, Patricia. David, in Osei Tutu Senior High School, popularly called OT, just this current was that they wrote, some students felt they were not allowed to cheat. They were not allowed to have their way in exam hall. So after a particular paper, they came out, forcibly opened the bonnet of some teachers' vehicles, and they took out the batteries on their cars. Not two teachers, not three. Over 5 teachers' cars, these young boys felt they were not allowed to cheat. And so they came out, opened the bonnet of their teachers' cars, those invigilators, and took the batteries from the cars. Then you can go there and check. Where this thing is leading to is becoming uncalled for. We should talk about it. I think the free things are getting into their heads, and these students are so ungrateful, David. I even know that even their examination fees was absorbed by the government. What else do they want? They gave you past questions free to learn. What else do you want? I think that this current crop of students that we are breeding, David, if we don't work on them, if we don't start introducing case in our schools, David, we are breeding new science, and very soon it will catch up with us.
I hear you, Chris. Thanks for joining us. 03220-83596. What do you make of all that is happening in senior high schools where final year students are destroying stuff? This is not the first time. Last year, 2020, Trinidad Senior High School, we had a similar thing there. Bamba, good morning to you. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you. How do you do?
How do you do?
I thought that the morality is worse in our community. Because what these students are doing, you can't just imagine. And if an investigation to be set up, and some of the teachers have been investigated. Because this cannot happen without students and teachers influencing them. Thank you very much.
And that was Bamba there, 03220-83596. Derek, good morning.
Good morning, Dave.
How are you, Derek?
I'm fine.
All right, so welcome, sir. Listen.
Yeah. I think what happened is that it's a sign of failure, okay? It's a sign of sincere failure from South Sudan. Because it makes serious sense that as students will write their exam finish and started bending on what we call the building committee because of they were not very well motivated. We've all been through this before. Sometimes you write your paper and you see that this paper didn't perform like how it's supposed to perform. But you shouldn't send that to your teachers. You shouldn't send that to your teachers because they feel bad for you. You were there 3-4 years ago and you were supposed to learn what you are to learn. That's why it's for exam. So if you fail and start bending on building what have you, it is a failed thing because that is what our teachers are now telling the headmasters to
I
do
hear you.
because of the place Sri Senior High School. It is something that is from the top, and the students are told that it is the headmasters who are denying that right from top. The headmasters are rather protecting the students, but we the students are not aware of that. We thought what those from the top are doing is the right thing. So we shouldn't blame the students much. Let's turn our attention to our so-called politicians who are politicizing everything just to gain their personal gain. That these students, why would you say these are Nana Ado graduates? What would you say that entails? They are Nana graduates. Don't name them as police.
I hear you. And that was Derek with his thoughts there. 03220-83596. I would love to hear from you as well. Alex, good morning, sir. How are you, Alex? So, days in school, could you even fathom doing such a thing?
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah, I remember in school there was this appear to school games, and then it was the school's headmaster that some people wanted to go and use appear at the games. The terror that came with it, you can't go ahead and do some of these things. But having said that, I think there's a problem with our society. We've allowed the external forces to determine the course of our life as a people. If you just imagine this gay LGBTQ5+, it's similar. We say human rights. When we're in school and it is 7 a.m., we are running like a wounded lion. You want to go too early. You want to get so early because if you don't get there, some things will be given to you or you'll be punished. And I think those are the things that formed us, that made us who we are today. But if we say human rights, and if I were a teacher, if I am a teacher today, I don't think I'll even stretch my hand and touch any child. Because the idea behind that is to help that child. But at the end of the day, I'll be penalized. So I will let go. So if we allow these foreign countries to dictate to us as to how we should train up our children,
When some of these things happen, who is going to help us solve them?
I hear you, Alex. And indeed, I have spoken to so many teachers who are concerned about the fact that they cannot discipline or punish a student when he or she does wrong. Helena, good morning. Hello, Helena.
Hello.
Good morning, Helena, and welcome.
Good morning. Please, I think that teachers should be allowed to punish students when they go wrong. Because the Bible says that in a time, Jimmy Batabufra Kumahua, Yedin and the white Etriho. That is what the Bible says. So if we want to see a change, then I think that we need to punish students when they go wrong. Because if we don't do that, worse things are going to happen. Because these days, I'm a teacher myself. The kind of things that students do, you will be marveled. Just yesterday, I was on campus, and then immediately I came from an office. I saw a student coming out from staff washroom. Staff washroom. Those days, you dare not even pass around where it is. He was coming out of that. So please, we need to be allowed to punish students when they go wrong. Now, when a student does something wrong, you cannot punish that student because GES says, child rights says, you cannot do this. And this is what we are going to see. We may see worse things if we don't do anything about it. They need to reverse those things and then allow teachers to punish students.
I hear you, Helena. Thanks. And indeed, even if the teachers are not doing it, as parents, we have a responsibility. How well are we playing our role as parents raising these young ones? Johnny, good morning, sir.
Good morning, David.
How are you?
I'm doing well, and you?
I'm well. Did you ever join any demonstration in your days at school?
Yes, I did.
And during the demonstration, what did you guys destroy?
We gave some lashes to the district director and the PTA chairman and the then district secretary. I regret that in a way.
I hear you. But looking at the situation we find on our hands right now, Johnny, tell me, how do you feel?
Yes, I feel bad, but you can't blame the students. These students are in their community and whatever you tell them, they take it. In our case, when we took part in the demonstrations, that was in the night, we were made to understand that we're being cheated and we're fighting for our rights. Today, the students think that the politicians have cooked everything for them, and the politicians have been touting it. They feel that it's free education, everything free. It should be free exam. They bought past questions and other things for them free. So they think everything, they made them understand everything is free. And so if they are not getting free to copy, it is the teachers who are preventing them. So the teachers should be their target. You can't blame the children. What they are doing is totally unacceptable. But it is our politicians who cause it. We must sit down and restructure this thing. Look, it is not everybody that wants to go to secondary school. Secondary school education is quite academic. The other one, the technical school is quite practical. Some want to go to technical schools. We should equip our technical schools so that those who want to go there go. So that those who want to continue with academic and they can withstand the WAEC as other things should go there. If we box all of them because of political expediency, this is the result we are getting. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Johnny. Who's next on the line? Isaac is there on the line. Hi, Isaac. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you. In fact, to be very fair, vandalizing school properties and other things didn't start just yesterday. It has been something that has been in the system for a long time. However, the way it's been rampant these times is a really big worry. I thank my dad that he didn't let me be a teacher, because if I was a teacher at this time, seriously, I would feel very sorry for myself, because I feel for the teachers so much. You see students misbehaving and a teacher is not able to punish a student for misbehaving. And I read somewhere that even the teachers, if a student misbehaves and you want to punish him, you would have to do it after contact hours, meaning that you would have to spend some time apart from teaching the student after the close of school to make sure you punish a student. You see, all of these things are demoralizing, and then they are helping our students to do these things that they are doing. So please, I think moving forward, we should keep on with these conversations to make sure that the right things are done to put our young people on track for the future. If not, Ghana has a problem.
Ghana indeed will have a problem if we don't tackle it. Isaac, thanks for joining us. Godfred is also on the line. Hi, Godfred.
Yeah, Dave, good morning. Long time. Dave, in fact, if you see what is happening in this country now, it's very scary. I'm scared for this country. Because there are things that are happening that could not have happened only a few years back. Look at even robberies, stealing that are taking place in this country. And it's done by young boys. Young boys. But who are training these young boys to be doing all these dastardly things? You know, our nation is engulfed in discipline, great in discipline now. And if we don't do something about it, this nation is in danger.
Well, thank you also for joining us. And that was Godfred. He joined us on the line. Leo joins me again. He's got some messages from Facebook. Hi, Leo. Good morning.
Good morning.
And Austin Wood, I know you don't want to talk, but let me say good morning to you, Austin. How are you doing? You mask in the microphone and grab a microphone. Charlie, with all that is happening, how scared are you for the future of this nation? Especially because we always hear people say the future of every nation is its children, the young ones.
Yeah, for me, thank you very much, David. For me, I'm uncomfortable. I think that there is a certain trend that is developing, and we need to be careful as a people. It's like the young ones are doing things that we did not expect them to do at that age. You see, a lot of things have happened in this country, and students the ages of those in SHS have done worse things. But it is the brazen nature of doing it and thinking that you can bend down a whole. You see, back then it was one housemaster. One housemaster was troublesome or was worrying you. So, something, those little petty things. But to the level of burning down a whole block, dormitory, I think that it is becoming something that we must look at. National security should be picking up intel on some of these things, because you said other schools, what they are doing is they are beating up the form twos and ones, taking their monies and away. Items and all that. I think the national security, together with the NCCE, should be up and doing on some of these things.
Austin, thanks. And he chanced on a conversation in a vehicle somewhere. But again, Austin, in all this, and Leo, parents are also not living up to expectations.
Exactly.
As parents, we need to talk about this. Charlie, the future is somewhere.
Parents now don't even spend time with their kids.
We don't know our children.
Yeah, exactly. That is the best thing.
We don't know the devices they carry no more than the parents.
Yeah. We are leaving home at 5:30 a.m. and coming back at 7. They are more interested in watching what is on TV.
Yeah.
And David, I don't know this conversation where this country has had it up to, but I don't think that children in GHS should be holding phones. No, it is wrong. If you are a parent out there,
I support it 1000%.
Don't give phone to your children in GHS or from GHS down. It is bad. They are not using it to study.
Yeah.
And let us not say that, others are using it. It is not true. It is not true. The things that they are doing.
Things that years ago, if you wanted to have a graphic material to watch, it would be so difficult for you.
You had to employ CIA tactics
to be able to get a graphic material to watch. And even in those days, when you have the cassette deck, You are even scared because say Doom can and
come on.
You know that it was you
that was watching it. Yeah.
This time
it happened to me once.
This time around we have mobile phones.
Yeah.
With internet facilities. And you can have anything
and
your palm.
If you're a parent out there listening, the phone that you have for your child, take it, go to the history, the web history, check the websites that they are visiting, check their WhatsApp messages. And David, a child of 13 to 14 in JHS, why are you having WhatsApp on the phone? Who are you communicating with?
Yeah,
I know of people who are below the age of JSS. I mean, 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds have WhatsApp groups.
Do you know what?
And they do all manner of things. Listen, I have seen, not say I see you, I have seen some of the conversations, some of the voice notes they send to each other. Some of the conversations among this girl is fine. 10-year-olds.
David, let me tell you what happened this morning. Leo, it will shock you to the bone. I chanced on a conversation between two young women. And I thought that they were going to SHS, looking at their stature and everything. And they were discussing, oh, my boyfriend, he is this way, he's treating me this way. And my attention was going to that conversation just this morning. So I'm like, what are they discussing? My boyfriend, I've spoken to Derek, he says this, and also, the next time next thing they are discussing, he says, on Friday, or say, I'll catch you, we say, on boy from an into your send him on WhatsApp. And I'm like, wow. Then the third one is what shocked me to the marrow. He says, me catch Derek, no, so you'll bet me app, no. Intimacy with the every year on sending me off.
Yeah, the day
betting. Girls, they are in JHS. Now you are betting. You are involved in boyfriend girlfriend relationship, and this is what you are doing and all that. So I'm asking myself, why are parents buying mobile phones for these young ones?
It's very wrong. It's very wrong. I think
that this country should have a conversation. You know, anytime it comes up, David Akwete or somebody in his position will say, oh, I'll leave home, I need my children if I want to speak to them. But you see,
give them a yam phone.
A yam phone or something.
That's what it is, yam phone.
Yes,
and I think that the telecommunication companies should also help us. Maybe they can give us, that can restrict,
you from going to porn. Restrict you from going to.
So imagine if you are a student, then you have to get a student SIM, which will not have access to some of these sites.
Educational websites. Yeah. We should have this conversation.
But also, we would have this conversation. But let me tell you this: you're talking about which people? These same people. Some of them, I don't know how they're able to do this, but there are pop-ups.
Yeah.
When a child is holding a certain device, there's some pop-ups to some sites where they're talking about this LGBT, gay, lesbian, all this nonsense.
No, but if your phone has blocked that, they can drop that. The service providers.
Like he said, if you have some specific SIMs,
for some
category of people, it will help. Charlie Austin, thanks. Leo, messages, please.
Okay, this is from Mark Morgan. He says, this is how far we've come, copying everything from the Western world, blindly dumping and rejecting our own selves. We are here now discussing education, which these young ones to desist from demolishing and causing havoc. If you see the rate at which these young students are disrespecting school authorities and teachers just because corporal punishment has been abolished, sorry, but more and worse of these actions will happen in the future. This is from Great Natnik. He says, aside parents paying for the damage, I suggest results of such students should be on pending for some years, since they will need it if they want to continue their education. This is from McLean Adayele. He says, David, the politicians have made the students to understand a poor is an entitlement. Students are now powerful than teachers. As a teacher, you dare not cane or punish a student. This is from Adelaide Boadu, and she thinks the students should be billed when they are coming for their results. This is very bad. And Kodwa Sempa, he says, this is the best morning show. Adelaide Boadu also says, all the boys who completed this year, okay, she's coming back to us. And okay, there's a lot of messages coming.
Thank you very much, Louis Stanley Boy. You know what, Mr. Bedu of ECG, is there a problem? Or you guys have decided to target my area? No,
but for your area, it's been happening
for 3-4 weeks.
I think something might be wrong.
If you guys are targeting my area, at least tell me so I know that okay, you've targeted me our area. If there's a problem, also let's know about it. But I'll leave you out there in your crowd. But Mr. Bedu, good morning to you and your team. Enjoy this tune, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know whether this song is going to speak to you, but I'm hoping it does.